I'm not sure which came first, cap guns or Nerf guns. Either way, start out as kids, pop, 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 got you with the cap gun. You know, maybe you fall down, pretend like you're dead, something like that. With Nerf guns, we set up bases where, you know, like upstairs would be one team, downstairs would be another team. We'd play cops and robbers maybe a little bit, but we'd kind of just make up our own teams, like the storyline and get creative and come up with a plot, you know, original plot, and kind of act that out. That's what we did. Sometimes we go out in the yard and play with the Nerf guns or at the park or something. Um, but that's my first experience with guns, right? With cap guns and Nerf guns. We're exposed to them at a very young age. And of course, squirt guns too. Squirt guns. And other types of, I don't know if there's something else I'm missing. We're playing around with these toy type guns. They're cheap, right? You can get little squirt guns or candy guns or something from the dollar store, from the corner store. You could at least. It's probably been some cutting down on that, but yeah, like toy guns went with the toy cigarettes and all that stuff. You could pick that up and get your first exposure with a gun. You know, hold it in your hand and kind of feel it and play with it. So you know, we get these toys when we're little kids, and we're shown a lot of violence on TV, gun violence, and that. Regardless of how you feel about that, it's a part of our lives at a young age. And you know, going forward, you know, this is probably different than most others, but some will relate and really get this too. So yeah, like cap guns and Nerf guns, playing around with those around the same time. In our neighborhood, there was this person, I'll go unnamed. They're in prison or are something for some disgusting shit. I'm not gonna go into that, but we used to hang out with this person. Wasn't quite really hanging out. Basically, we'd go over there. He had a BB gun. He had some, you know, BBs, and so he would load it up or not, and he would essentially torture myself or others, teaming up with my older brother or somebody else to like capture us, and then they would hold the BB gun up to our head, and the game was guessing time. And what he'd do is he wouldn't let you know whether or not he had loaded up a BB in the gun. He'd hold it right up to your temple or right up to your eye or your forehead and say, it's guessing time. Guess if it's loaded or not, yes or no. And you had to guess. And he never obviously pulled the trigger when it was right here. I'd probably be dead. But very close. Just said, yes, it is. And then would pull it right by your face, would shoot it over your head. Crazy shit like that. Shoot off the wall, it'd bounce back and hit us sometimes. We were in this little like shed of his outside of his house, that was supposed to be like tree fort or something. It was supposed to be for kids hanging out, but it was really just like what turned into this torture box for myself. When I was young, I thought that was normal. I thought that's what kids did to play around. But anyway, my dad picked up on that from my older brother, the guessing time thing, and so he would joke around and say, "Hey Cliff, is it guessing time?" You know, they'd say that shit. So playing around with guns is not a good idea. Playing around with them with your loved ones hurts feelings and lives. It definitely has ruined my perspective of guns from a young age, and kind of how I feel about friends and siblings and things like that. It's not hilarious. It's not cracking jokes type stuff like those jail rape jokes and like mass shooting jokes, and that stuff doesn't crack me up. It's not entertaining or creative, or it's just toxicity. It's just diseased speaking and way of thinking. um so anyway, I had some fun with guns when I was a little kid, but right around the same time I was going through this painful experience too. But a few years later, around age like early teens, preteens, that's when people around where I'm from start shooting real guns, pistols, rifles. It's like you're starting to get into hunting age too, and so people are going out to the land or out in the country shooting stuff, just shooting bottles, shooting cans, shooting the grass, shooting whatever, shooting the fire pit, shooting wood, tree, just like firing guns. And so it could be the family's gun, of course, you know, like, and we'll get into more why there may be so many guns in Wisconsin, but there's just guns around. Like when I was growing up, it's not difficult to find closets full of firearms, just guns everywhere. So anyways, folks start shooting, hunting. I never really got into hunting. Found it boring, really. Never been afraid to shoot a gun or to shoot animals. Actually, I have shot small animals before. But just, yeah, find deer hunting specifically and going out and like spending all this time to get ready. And I don't find the allure there really. But that being said, I do have a lot of respect for those that hunt and get what they eat. So no, not duck hunting or turkey hunting or any of that either. I've shot some pigeons and like targets and that. And around the time kids my age started deer hunting, we got into airsoft guns too. And so that was like mimic fake guns that shoot these plastic pellets instead of real bullets. And so you can get them in the shape of crazy like Uzis or AKs, you know, ARs and all that stuff. Pistols like P2s, you know, Desert Eagles, whatever. But they just shoot plastic pellets and like you load the clips up and everything and cock them and load them and all that, but they're just for play. And so we would, like the Nerf gun battles, set up forts. This time more outside, though we'd still play inside sometimes. Yeah, like shoot each other, like play hunting games outside essentially with these, like, and some people got in trouble with the police because you're not supposed to be out there with guns, like playing around with guns or whatever. So it wasn't that, so you had to do it in like a backyard or somewhere secure where nobody was going to call the police on you. This is around the same time when kids are getting into gangs too, not the same kids necessarily that hunt or that do the airsoft gun stuff. But kids are also getting into gangs in these preteen years, early teens. And so they're holding on to guns, living that gangster lifestyle, thugging, you know, like on the streets for self-protection. And so that gets me into my next point is that if you grow up in certain neighborhoods, you may be used to holding on to guns at earlier ages for self-protection, for self-preservation, before your teens even. Like some kids are really like having to survive out here in America and know how to handle a firearm before they're teenagers. But even so, regardless of the age, like if you're having to hold a gun, if you're having to keep one on you to feel safe, you're in a difficult situation. And that's the reason why, or a big reason why I think that we're allowed to own firearms in America, is so that we can protect ourselves from any danger. It's not just from the government, which is another reason maybe. If the government gets tyrannical and starts to, you know, like really do something in mass that harms large groups of people and we don't stand for it, and needs to be some kind of civil war pushback, the citizens need guns there. But it's also, again, just for self-preservation so that you can protect yourself. And in certain areas, it's dangerous in America. I mean, you can look at numbers, you can go to these areas like that you're scared to go to. You can go on vacation, travel, visit different cities and municipalities and types of areas, and just get to know America a little better. And you'll find that there's some areas you feel more like carrying a gun on you to feel safe. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you're responsible. I have a concealed carry license myself, and I'm probably packing more often than you think. I probably have a gun on me. I'm not going to say how much of the time, but I probably have it on me more often than you would expect. That's my right. I have no plan on doing any kind of mass shooting. I think those people are extremely immature and gross, and I don't have any respect for mass shooters. I also don't have any respect for crack dealers shooting up their neighborhood. I have no respect for that either. Haphazard gangsta like wannabe shit. It's on the same lines as mass shooters for me. Just pointless people, just serial killing behavior, terroristic behavior. I don't stand for any of that crap. But I do stand for self-protection, for hunting, for target practice, safe gun ownership. I think it's fine. It can be done. But I do have some other ideas that I think are beneficial, or that would help based on my experiences. It's not to say that I have the perfect political agenda or anything like that, but I don't hear some of these things that I've mentioned already a lot. And I have a couple that I want to touch on that I don't think are really treated with enough respect in the light, kind of out in the open. And so one of those is, I think that there needs to be an assigned party or an assigned location for firearms in schools, for a gun in school, not police, for teachers to be able to get to if needed in an emergency. So I don't know if this is some sort of safe or some sort of room, or if there are multiple locations in a building, but there needs to be some location in a building where a teacher could go if absolutely necessary and retrieve a firearm to protect the students if needed. These mass shootings are out of control. I don't know that teachers need the guns behind their desks, but that thought's crossed my mind too. There being a gun in every classroom, but that may be too much. It might need to be sort of like a teacher's lounge, like nearby sort of thing, so that teachers can get to it within a few seconds should be key. It shouldn't take longer than a few seconds to be able to get to it. And I think that needs more debate, needs more conversation. These school shootings keep happening, and what are you going to do? I think another idea is getting state certified licenses for school shooting like procedures, and forcing these schools to adhere to them, these security measures, like setting a baseline for what you need to have and then giving schools rankings based on them. It just has to be done. It should be put at the top of the priority list. Another one of these ideas, and I'm not saying that I'm coming up with them originally, I just put my support behind them, is like a gun retrieval program or something, but putting the price for guns that are returned much higher. So like if you are giving back a gun, you're going to get a significant amount for it. If you're giving the police a Glock 30, you should get half the retail cost of that or something. And there need to be protections so that you can't go to the, I don't know, store somehow and like keep reselling them for a profit. But the idea is that you sell the guns back to the police, and then after the police get them and pay out these people, give them a higher price, encourage youth to find guns, to take guns and return them to the police. They'll get the money, enough money to even escape if, you know, they had taken it from somebody they're scared of, you know, like just handing out money for the guns, taking the guns, melting them down, turning them into something nonviolent. So that, and then also there are a lot of guns in Wisconsin. Who knows how many? Because we're not required to register our weapons. There could be, oh my God, like I don't know how many. So you can just go and buy a weapon from somebody. It depends on if you buy it from a store or if you buy it from a reseller or you know, from somebody individually, how much of a background check they're gonna do. But there's not much to it, and there's nothing about psychological check either. So the guns are not registered, and there's no psych eval for getting a weapon. So these are things that piss off the what's that, like crazy gun, the NRA people and stuff. But what reason do you have for not registering a weapon to yourself? Only to do illegal shit. None of your business, these people say. Yeah, well, that's very questionable. You as a citizen are a questionable person. So we need to kind of weed out these psychos, because they can just give their guns to whoever, mass shooters. There's no protocols there. So I'm not saying restrict the amount of guns that somebody can buy. I think if you're a sane individual, you should be able to buy however many guns you want. But yeah, you should have to register them within a certain amount of time. You shouldn't have to pay anything to register it. You just have to do it within 30 days. Register your gun. But if you don't do it, then you start getting charged a fee. And so you don't want to get charged any fees for that silly mistake. And so just register your weapon. That's something simple that could be implemented, and just to keep track of who has these weapons, how many there are, because why not? But yeah, so registering the guns, and then also kind of like I was implying, a psych eval when you're purchasing a weapon. And so I'm not sure if that's every time you purchase a weapon or not, but at least on the initial purchase, you should have to undergo your initial firearm purchase. You should have to undergo a psych eval. The background check that they do when you buy a gun from the store here already takes, you know, like some hours. Could take a day, 2 days, a few days, or whatever. You might as well do the psych eval at the same time, go through the questions. Just adds another layer of security. You have that on file, then you can see what this person said, start to build up some data. And just for the safety of people, you know, it's not supposed to be harvested for any other purpose, you know, but there need to be protections around all this stuff. That's what the government's supposed to do. And how much can we trust the government to regulate firearms? It's the ultimate question. But again, I do have a conceal and carry license, and I think you should get one if you're considering about taking a gun around. Wisconsin's an open carry state, so you can just yeehaw cowboy, like walk around with a pistol on your hip here. But if you want to carry something concealed, you have to have a concealed carry license, and it's not much. Like, you just go to this class for a few hours. I keep guns on me, I keep guns around, but it's not a laughing matter. My heart goes out to anyone who has suffered from gun violence in any way. Um, they're not toys. They've been turned into toys by America. It seems more and more these shootings are broadcasted like trending topics. Um, the guns get crazier. They come from more places. Switches are made out of plastic, printable by 3D printers. Um, there's a lot going on in the world of guns, and it can be scary. Um, but we just need to be serious sometimes and consider these factors that we do have control over, and see what we can do about them, because the time's now. More people are dying every day, and yeah, it's never been a joke to me. Gun control is something that we need more of, but in a responsible manner.